So he's collecting the ironwood to get that out of the stand, leaving as much of the young quality maple as possible, the 15-year-old maple from when we were here 15 years ago. Certainly leaving as many intermediate quality stems as absolutely possible, including birch, which is yellow birch and white birch both. We're leaving some of the big oak and some of the other big quality trees, maple and basswood, but we're taking quite a bit of the basswood. Anyway, it's quite an experiment, but it's the way I think we've got to do it. That's another ironwood, otherwise he wouldn't be taking it. And we're not wiping out the young maple poor quality, because we're leaving something to be the pulpwood for the next entry in another 15 years. That's the way I'm told they do it in Michigan, and this is a classic Michigan type of stand. So we're going to try to do it their way. Yeah, so here's the area that Ross is just starting to open up. He had to take a quick break to change a filter. Fuel filter, but that's the kind of paper birch we're going to attempt to work around there. That maple goes for pulpwood. This 15-inch DVH saw log type maple is going to go because that's about as big as we dare grow it, unless they're perfect quality. That big maple's going because of poor quality. There's a young maple we want to leave that might be pulpwood in the future, might be saw bolts and logs, but we definitely want to leave it in the stand. If it only turns into pulpwood, we want to leave a bunch of that anyway, because we got to harvest something the next time we're here. Basswood for sure we want to leave. Ironwood's got to be laid down. There's no product in it. Habitat stub we'll leave if we can. Maple for sure, leave. Beautiful maple that we want to leave here. Young, like a 6-inch. But that's a quality tree. We'll leave a few big basswood, because we got to leave something big. But we're going to take a lot of the big basswood too, because it's at risk. Now that one's more at risk. In fact, it's snapped off on the top. But this one seems to be super healthy, so we'll leave that as one of our super canopy trees. We'll take that high quality maple instead. And then just on the small side of our big class, ironwood that's got to go. There's a big old maple. It's got to go because it's got a broken top, actually. So you can see what happens to some of these mature trees that we keep leaving and leaving. Wind comes by and snaps them off. So it's tempting to keep leaving them forever, but they don't last forever. And we need to keep recruiting the multiple age classes to be part of the quality. So I think that when they say you can enter your very best stands of northern hardwoods every 15 years, they being the silviculturists from the prime northern hardwood lands of Michigan and parts of Wisconsin, I think they know what they're talking about, but this is going to be a lot of work. But we got a lot of it, especially here at Sugar Hills, so no time like the present to make sure that this plan is going to work. And I think it is. What I think we've got here is what we typically are finding more and more when we go back on our second entries or third entries, but the timber we're going to harvest is in the opposite strips of where the operator skidded or ran the harvester the last time. And so we're not strip cutting because we don't have parallel strips, but we've got meandering cut lines that are alternating. And we definitely want to stay out of some of these areas where we've got really good regen of desirable species. Here we've got birch and lots of it, a little bit of oak and some maple mixed in. No ironwood to speak of, some basswood. So why would we want to go in there or drop a big tree in there? So we know to stay out of those areas. And the reason we have this regen is because these were the areas that were opened up pretty clear before. And that's why the desirable species were able to outcompete the ironwood. So we'll cut that tree there, but we'll be careful not to fell it into here, and Ross knows that. And we've got a birch back there that we're going to take. But he'll try to protect these as much as possible, and then we just got to make sure that the skidder operators do the same. You've got to find a hole to put it somewhere. Neither of us could see that that maple had a broken top right there. Have to come back and cut that by hand when we're skidding. There's that nice maple behind it. We are looking for basswood lumber for sure. We're going to get some nice lumber out of this, even though this tree was starting to decay. Not bad. Maple pulp. Lots of ironwood. Trying to trash that. But we thought that was a saver maple, but it's got a broken top. So it's got to go. Plus it's about 20-inch diameter. Let's check that. Yep, 20-inch it is. Diameter tape. Calibrated to measure diameter rather than displacement. Although on the flip side, I guess, is displacement. What's their circumference? Circumference is about 5 feet 3 inches. Anyway, there's a reason why these trees just aren't meant to grow much bigger than this in this country. It's because they eventually fall apart, decay on top, and then they're susceptible to wind. So probably 18-inch max is where we should be in our silvicultural guidelines for Minnesota northern hardwoods. Let's measure that one over there. Over 20. So we're probably fooling ourselves, but we're gonna leave it. Well, Ross and I stopped and looked at that one because I had a question mark on it. Don't know, see if you can see the blue question mark, but I wanted to measure it, and it's 18 inches, and that's what they say is the ideal maximum size for your very best. And sure enough, that's probably absolutely prime before it started to show signs of decay. So the question mark is no longer a question mark. That one's going to go. That one's going to break. him in the road temporarily. Give ourselves some room to work. It opened up a hole. Let's see, is he going to take the big guy now? Yep. Those you don't carry very far. When that top starts to go, it's going to go. He's going to try it. Whoa. All right. He's going to do a little limbing and topping for the crew with that. Yeah, that's as good as it gets right there. For us, that's phenomenal. It would be a shame to let the quality of that go downhill by leaving it any longer. There's the stump. We'll leave that oak back there. Gonna take this maple because it's big also. This big old guy went over the hill, left it too long. So we're gonna have a pretty good opening right here, but that's okay. Gotta have room for new trees to grow. Like I said before, in these openings, we're getting excellent regen in terms of species and quality, but the species composition is much less ironwood, and that's important. Here's a little bigger one that doesn't appear to have the same quality, but it might be pretty good. That's got a heavy top. Let's hope that's not coming on us. Slipped on that. Oh boy. Well, it's not bad, but it's rotten. Work to do this, save a few trees that are in the intermediate class, but we have to. We got maple right there. Okay, here comes the basswood. grab that without cut through it without cutting the smaller ones that were growing up out of the clump, which I appreciate. Now he's trying to get a good grip on it. Oh, he's got it by the top. Good. Yeah, he knew what he was doing. That'll be a quality tree. Our maple may be a challenge, but our basswood is clearly the best in the world. What do you think there, Ivor, the timber dog? So there's that basswood he just cut. Smell good, Ivor? Yeah, it's a quality treat. That maple that I was afraid was a little too big and a little too overaged, has a hole in it, but we'll get quality lumber on it. But it was definitely going downhill. Ivor, come. So this is the hole he just cut out of. Maple, basswood, the poorer quality but still good maple. Very good quality maple behind that. We want to leave some regen, but there's a basswood that we got to get to, and oak that we're for sure going to leave. We don't have much oak in here. We want to try to retain as much as we can. There's a maple that we're going to leave. It's poor quality, but we got to leave a few bigger trees in here. So we'll just go ahead and let that be poor quality and probably never ever harvest that. Here's an ironwood that's got to go. Northern Minnesota, Northern Hardwood Management. Well, I guess it's a lot to ask to expect that they're gonna top and limb these in place. So that's why they gotta do what I call pre-skid. But it does do more damage. Yeah, if you let this maple get too big, that's what happens. Unlike the basswood. And the smaller maple tends to have a better heart. Dead white pine. We might make a little lumber out of that. Won't be easy. There's that maple that we have to cut by hand because of the snap top that we didn't see when it was so thick in here with the feller buncher. Here's what happens when you skid with tops. They rub your pole timber along the edge of the skid trail, but I don't really know how to avoid it. So that'll be pulpwood the next time, but it'll still be here. I know these guys are conscientious. They're not miracle workers. Very nice yellow birch. These tops are so big and they're so nasty, and because we're trying to save space during the felling and the bunching, they get laid on top of each other. There's just no way to space them out, and then they can't get to them prior to pulling them a ways. I just think that's the nature of the process. The white birch that is able to grow up in these northern hardwood mixed stands is really some of our super best quality. It has a hard time competing, but if you open it up enough, it does well. I'm getting pelted with acorns from these oaks, so that's a good sign. We're going to have acorns. I don't know if you can hear that. There's one. That's definitely a green, fresh one. There's one. Yeah, we're going to get oak in these openings. So on this side is a northern hardwood mix with some oak in it. On this side there's quite a bit of oak. So I'm going to treat this side differently. We are going to do a shelter wood cut. We're going to basically take out everything but the oak, and we're going to leave some really nice young maple scattered because it'll do well and won't cast that much shade, so we'll still get the sunlight we need for the oak shelter wood. And then we'll end up coming back and removing the oak overstory off once the young oak is established, and that'll give the oak a chance to compete well against everything else that'll be in here. So it'll be a good experiment, but it's going to look quite a bit different on this side than it will on this side. This is going to continue to be an all-age mixed northern hardwood stand. This will be primarily an oak stand if we're successful with the shelter wood. Well, if we're not successful, then we're going to get birch and maple and basswood anyway, and that's okay. The oak is really thick down on the bottom. This is the patch of aspen at the bottom of the hill that I was just walking down that Brother Nick cut with his Ponces. early on in his cut-to-length career. I was here when he was cutting this very spot. So he cut the aspen seams out of what is going to now be our oak, or in the midst of what is going to be an oak shelter wood, and we'll stay out of the aspen seams because they're doing really well in aspen. Whatever other species in there will just have to be managed along with the aspen. But there's the old growth hardwood, big hardwood, that will be taking everything except the oak and get all the oak we can back. Oh, the only oak we'll take will be the stuff that's at risk, like that one right there. So I'm going to mark some of this just to get Ross started, and he'll know what I mean. What we will do though is leave a strip along the ski trail to help keep shade on the ski trail as much as possible during the early and late winter months to extend the skiing season. There's Blandon land to the northwest, and there are two monster white pine that will clearly throw seed, so we're going to get some white pine in with this oak shelter wood. We take everything other than the oak. This is really going to be open, but that's what we need for white pine and oak regen. That's quite a hill. Okay, so this is the finished product, at least looking at the canopy. So what have we done? We've left nearly all the oak because we're looking for more oak regen than what we got the first time because it was way too thick. We've left quality maple and quality basswood. That was small the first time we cut it, and it's still pretty small. So that's what'll be here the next time. I hope those tops aren't getting too thin, but maybe they'll respond. We left some maple pulpwood because that'll help add to the volume the next time. And I think we're getting enough volume this time to make it worth it. We certainly are leaving all of the pole timber and all the advanced regen that we can. We've lost a lot of it, but there was so much to begin with. We've got some pretty good sized openings in there. But those will be the next generation of dense regen like these. So we keep alternating the openings. Certainly doesn't look like a clear cut, but it is aggressive. But we're going to get tremendous growth response, and we'll keep shortening the rotation, but trying to keep the diameters of our crop trees in that 16-inch range, much like that basswood right there. It's not huge, but it's pretty darn good. There's a dandy oak. The risk, of course, is that's going to go epicormic, but we're going to take that risk because we haven't gotten the oak regen established yet. That's the price we'll have to pay. Big old yellow birch back there. We're leaving that in the stand because that can live a long time. It gets super big, and that's okay. Get those big red hearts. We love the red heart. and the yellow birch, just like cherry. There's a kind of maple that 15 years ago from now might be harvestable. Probably not ideally, but it'll depend on the quality, whether or not we'll leave it for the next time after that. So it's either 15 years from now or 30 years from now. That one will definitely be 15 years from now. It's 13 inches now. We'll hope it's going to be 16 inches the next time we're here. That's maple pulpwood. Take it now, take it later. I told him it didn't really matter to me. And he left it, and we'll get it next time.